Coming to you from a wrong turn off Route 66. Somewhere in the Sonoran Desert, it's James Out West, featuring Ryan Rooks.
And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, James Out West. Sunday, June 13th, 2021. It's 175 degrees outside right now.
It is ridiculous. This coming up week, we have 5 days of 117 in a row.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun.
But hey, it is a dry heat.
All things good, but crazy week. That's why we're doing the show on Sunday again. Good stuff. How was your week?
Long, busy, craziness afoot.
Yeah.
Took the mother-in-law, who is I guess we can call her a cancer survivor, brain cancer, because she's still here.
Yep.
Shout out, Kathy.
Rocking it.
She had an MRI yesterday, so we rented a van, took her in it, came back. She wanted to go to the casino, so we said, why not?
I love that you take her to an MRI and rent a van.
Got to rent a van.
And then take her to the casino.
She wanted to go to the casino. So went to the casino. She gambled. She got a nice stay. She got to sit on a balcony, enjoyed herself. Got to go to Walmart this morning, pick out some stuff.
She deserves
Came
it.
home. She's super happy.
She deserves it.
So, yeah.
She doesn't
but
get
that was like 48 hours of my
Oh.
wife just basically going nonstop.
Well, it
Giggity.
happens. It was a good week. It's been a crazy a lot this week. But
There is. I mean, sports-wise, obviously the NBA is rocking and rolling. Hockey,
it.
if you follow that, playoffs are rocking and rolling. They
Yep.
got game sevens, exciting matches that we don't watch. European soccer championships going on.
Yeah, and we had what is it, Eriksson from Denmark collapsed. Did you? So I got the alert and then I started watching it immediately yesterday. So he had cardiac issues and just pretty much collapsed when they were trying to throw the ball in. He's stable condition now.
But they were chest compressions and defibrillator on the field.
They shocked him once and they said he was gone and then brought him back.
My goodness.
But they ended up stopping the game. They all the players got together, and it was crazy. I don't know if you saw this part, but this was like the first time both fans in the entire stadium were chanting his name. That's the type of stuff we should be seeing.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're seeing so many dang fights right now. I don't know if you have been.
Oh, with the one with the Suns?
There's in baseball, in basketball, because we're filling up the stands again.
Well, basketball, it calmed down from all the ridiculousness the first week of the playoffs. It did calm down. Then we had a couple of nights ago, the last time the Suns played, when they put that 3-0 on the Denver Nuggets, a Denver fan, if you watch the whole video, tried to be sly and tried to sucker punch dude. He tucked his chain in and tried to sucker punch dude. And then dude, straight up out of the WWE, was uppercutting him, holding his shirt down, looking, if you're watching this on YouTube, looking at him going, I'm going to mess your boy up. I'm going to mess your boy up. And he just started, boom, boom, boom. It was hilarious because what's funny is when the guy got up, he looked like he didn't get touched. Just walked away like nothing happened.
Stop
Shenanigans.
Fighting. You're at a game, you're paying, trust me,
This has happened before COVID. This has happened forever.
Right.
This does happen.
And it is, more news is out there, but at the same point,
everybody's got a camera.
On.
That was up in the 500 section.
Yeah.
Nobody would have known about it if there wasn't social media. So that just means 10 years ago that stuff was happening and nobody knew.
Rich people.
It was no.
Okay. All right. So let's get into a little bit of football, and then I have a bunch to talk about with basketball. So
okay.
So I was frustrated because we did the show Friday last week, and then Saturday morning Julio gets traded, so we didn't get to talk about it till now.
Right. So Julio gets traded for basically nothing.
I'm here to win.
Whoa.
I'm here to win it all.
Whoa, hey. No, you're not. He's going to be quiet.
You're already you're jumping the gun.
I didn't mean to. It just started.
Just because you love him so
No.
much.
Oh, yeah.
We'll find out in a second.
All right.
But, okay, so Julio gets traded to the Titans. What do you think about this? Is this a juggernaut now?
So I got into quite the finger wars with some friends of ours because I simply just asked, well, isn't Tannehill still the quarterback?
Yep.
And they lost it. Are you kidding me, dog? He's a top 10. Look, now, stat-wise, he had an unbelievable last 2 years. No doubt about it.
Yep.
He's playing very good
2
football.
years ago was better, I would say, but yes. Okay.
Like 105 QB average, 33 touchdowns, 3,500 yards.
So
like
what's
he's
your
playing
qualm
well.
with it?
He's still Ryan Tannehill. He's still going to be – can they win with him? Absolutely. Did they get the defense shirt up? Because that's the problem. Are they going to throw the ball more now? Because if they are, they're taking away carries from Derrick Henry.
No, they're opening up options.
Okay.
You're giving them the deep ball to give that to let's say 8 times a game where you're going for it.
So now
that's going to open up the
is
door.
this a slap in the face to Corey Davis, who obviously isn't Julio Jones, but was a big body receiver that could do basically what
it kind of
not
is
basically what Julio can say that's taken. Julio has the utmost respect, so I can't even put him there. But I'm saying, like, for the amount of shots they're going to take, do they need to get him versus re-signing Corey Davis?
No, and if you're Corey Davis, you have to look at it as, you know what, this is a gut check. At the same point, it's Julio Jones.
Yeah.
So, yes, okay, so now go prove it. Now show up, whether it's with them or not.
I ran the numbers on the Titans as far as looking at their schedule and breaking it down into the quarters that you would break it down into.
Okay.
Now we have the extra game, so we did 5 at the last part. But I got them at 10 or 11 wins. They still have a tough schedule. Their first 4, AZ, at Seattle, Indy, and the Jets. They're going to win 3 or 4, let's say. Then they got Jacksonville. Okay. Then they got Buffalo, Kansas City, Indy. They're going to win 2 of those 4. Then they got Rams, New Orleans, Houston, New England. They're going to win 2 of those 4. And then the last 5, Jacksonville, Pitt, San Fran, Miami, Houston. They're going to win 4 of those 5. That's 10 or 11 wins. That's 10 or 11. And Indy's about the same. So they added Julio Jones, but in my opinion, I don't think that put them in the absolutely going to win the division, absolutely going to be in the AFC Championship. I don't get that.
If Tannehill stays healthy and that O-line protects him, he's going to be throwing more and could be in the MVP conversation.
But it's throwing more the best thing for them. It's throwing more the best thing for them because then that takes carries away from King Henry.
Which maybe he needs for a year. You know how much that boy's been
didn't slow
running?
down at all, though.
I know. Andy still looks like a beast. I don't know if you've been seeing his workouts and the crazy things.
Oh, he's a freak.
He's doing. And Julio. I knew they were going to go to Tennessee because Julio's been working out with them for, 3 or 4 weeks?
Oh, yeah.
So, okay, did you hear this story about Le'Veon Bell? And he'll never play for Andy Reid again. And he would rather retire than play for the Kansas City Chiefs and Andy Reid.
So then he's probably going to be retired.
Who's
picking him up?
When he was on the Steelers, he was a stud. Then he sat out that year. Then he went to the Jets.
Became a rapper, yeah.
What happened? Is that...
He worked himself into it. So for wrestling terms, he worked himself into a shoot. Okay? He ran his mouth, took a stand, and it didn't pay off. And he never recouped that money.
Okay, so then let's say... So Carson Palmer did this back in the day.
Yeah.
Now is Aaron Rodgers going to do it?
Nope. Aaron's not going to retire. They're not going to trade him.
He sits out for a year?
Nope.
Okay, so you still think he's going back to Green Bay?
He will be the starting quarterback week 1. He may not show up until preseason, but he'll be the start. Let me ask you, what would the reasoning? These veterans are figuring out if we're in the same system and I know this stuff, why I can train on my own, I can keep myself up. Remember back in the day, training days were because guys were coming off of steel mills and these kids stay.
They do it together though.
This is their life.
Okay.
Their body is their life. Their body is making them the money.
Well,
so they
there's
stay in
why
shape.
People pay millions of dollars, like your favorite person, or actually your 2 favorite people, LeBron James and Russell Wilson, spend over $1 million a year on their body. As they should. Okay, so should we finally get into this?
Yeah, so I'm going to play a clip because this just irked me. And I know I probably sound like an old man, but this irked me.
What's his mother thinking name?
Mr. Unlimited.
Yes, all right.
Team 3, Russie Wilson. Here you go.
All right.
So this was him addressing to the media about the reports of him possibly being traded and if he was traded and did he demand a trade.
So at the end of the season, but all things are good now.
Right.
Okay, so
this was 2 days ago.
You had a problem with this.
Yeah. Take a listen.
The real reality is that I'm here, and I'm here to win. And I'm here to win it all. There was a whole thing saying that I requested a trade. And that's just not true. I didn't request a trade, So I think everything kind of started from there. And then obviously tons of teams were calling.
Obviously.
I think that the reality is that I didn't really want to go anywhere else. I wanted to play in Seattle. But if I had to go somewhere, these are the teams I would go to consider. At the end of the day, I have no trade clause, right? So I think, I think for me, though, I had a great conversation with Coach Carroll, had a really great conversation with John, too. And Coach Carroll and I spent a lot of time together, one-on-one, and, we're on the same page. There's a lot of teams out there.
So, okay, you have a problem with that.
Mm-hmm. I do.
But you don't have a problem with what the stuff that Baker Mayfield says.
What did he say in regards to anything like this?
Everything Baker Mayfield says, but you said that he's being real.
Find me a clip.
No, not about that specific situation. I'm just saying things that you need to say to the media that you obviously aren't true and isn't the exact truth.
No, I understand what he's saying.
So he's being the corporate man. That he's the businessman. He's doing the right thing. That's not.
It's not about that. It was no. He didn't ask for a trade. I'll give him that. He didn't ask for a trade. But
even if he did,
but obviously, because I'm Mr. Unlimited, I'm Russell Wilson. Obviously, a bunch of teams were calling, and obviously, I would have no trade clause, so I can pick where I would go. And these are the teams that I would want to go to. So he did say that there were teams he would want to go to, which Chicago was one of them. They got what they could have gotten back from him, and it just wasn't enough. If Chicago offers up one more first round pick, Russell's having this meeting here wearing orange and blue.
If any, it was a chess move. That's all it was, and it worked out, and hopefully it will work out, which I still think they're going to end up in last in the NFC West. But
so then it's not going to work out.
And then next year we'll come and we'll see what happens. But players are doing this now, man. Like you're such an old man where you're in this mentality like this is not okay. This is happening.
No, it's not that it's not okay. I just can't stand that he's that pompous. That's just my biggest thing. Is he so? I know you have to have an ego to play at that level and be that great. I get it. But you can also be humble about it. I hear a lot of people be humble about it. He is the most unhumble person I've ever met. He gave himself his own nickname, Mr. Unlimited. It's his alter ego. Get out of here, bro. He's a dork.
Insane. Do you know how many? You're gonna say Terrell Owens isn't more pompous?
Oh yeah, but I also don't expect him to be. He's not the face of a franchise. Obviously, he shunned everybody at the Hall of Fame. Doesn't mean he wasn't great on the field. Right, doesn't mean he wasn't better than Jerry Rice. Doesn't mean any of those things.
We have stuff to talk about. That's a teaser. So okay, can we get into some basketball?
Sure.
Okay, so we've had the Brooklyn Milwaukee. So that's 2-1. Brooklyn's up right now.
Yes, sir.
We've had Philly and Atlanta. That's 2-1.
Mm-hmm.
We've had Utah and the Clippers. That's 2-1.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got our local Phoenix Suns.
3-0.
Denver 3-0.
About ready to pull out the brooms tonight at 5 o'clock. So obviously, you can judge by my height and the house I live in. I never played in the NBA. But they say
when I'm standing.
Yeah, especially then.
When you really.
But hey, you're taller than me. You still didn't either. But they say it's really hard to close out a series.
It is.
They're up 3-0.
They're in Denver tonight. Actually, I have a buddy of mine from work going. He flew out. I'm so jealous. He's sitting in the 8th row or something like that. Oh man. But it's going to be interesting if they can sweep, because I think it's going to come down to them in Utah. I don't think the Clippers are in.
No, yeah, I think Utah moves on. I think Phoenix moves on, and I think Phoenix moves on past that.
I think so, too. I think it's going to be Phoenix and Brooklyn. The way it's looking, Phoenix is playing so good.
Team basketball.
CP3, I respect his game. Not necessarily a fan of the man, but love Booker. Ayton.
What they've been doing in this playoff run has been nothing less than incredible.
Unbelievable. And it's showing. They're winning, and they're well coached. So I really do hope.
Chris Paul putting on a clinic.
I'm actually surprised you're wearing a Suns hat.
Bruh, I almost was standing here with a broom earlier.
Oh, my gosh. You're ridiculous. Okay, so did you... Okay.
Before we get to that, I wanted to bring up the late, great Kobe Bryant. His first impression on playing against Devin Booker in 2016.
Oh, yes.
Like to hear what Kobe said about him and then how it relates to this series. Take a listen.
And now Booker tonight, he went straight to my move. The first time he caught it. Yeah, you're not gonna beat me on my move, man. But it was great to see. It was absolutely great to see, and because I remember I did the same thing with MJ. I think he's fantastic. I think he has the right attitude. He has the right competitive spirit. I think his footwork's extremely sound. His fundamentals are extremely sound. And now it's just about him figuring out exactly what his game is. And then he can go to that every single night and then make counters off of it. But he has, the skills are there.
So,
you know what I love about that is that Kobe actually watch so many of Michael Jordan's interviews. Kobe ended up becoming more vocal at the end of his career.
Yes.
But he talks just like Michael did back in the day. Mm-hmm. I love it. And that's a great honor. That's like something I would like. My ringtone is going to be like that if I'm Devin Booker. I mean, Kobe was obviously the Mamba mentality. Absolutely. He's giving him that, that key to the city of enjoying that. That's amazing.
And then look at that was 2016. That was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Look at where he's at now.
Right.
He hasn't quite figured out his game completely, but he's got a lot of it down. He knows his spots. Look at what Richard Jefferson said in the last game, game 3. He goes to the lane on Jokic and throws up a left-handed floater. Mm-hmm. Oh, money.
Yes.
And it's like you can tell that he's comfortable enough and confident enough to take that shot in a playoff game, which tells you he's been working on that. Tells you how much time he's been spending in the quote-unquote lab.
Well, the Kobe, what he did to so many different players, it's like almost like the coaching tree. But like even Julius Randle,
absolutely,
the sixth man of the year, because he used to work out. Like we talked about this story, he would go and work out with Kobe. Like that, he touched so many different people because he actually cared about growing the league,
growing the sport.
Yes, absolutely. So, did you see PJ Tucker and Kevin Durant getting at it? And then
let's talk about it.
This security guard runs out.
Do you know who the security guard was? Because I do.
A big dude?
No. He was Kevin Durant's personal security that is on the payroll of the Brooklyn Nets.
Okay.
So that adds a little ripple. He went on the court and separated.
So how many times have Kevin Durant got into it with people? And all there was no pushing, there was nothing yet. It was just they were face to face, they had their words. Cool. That happens all the time.
All the time.
He had and you could see the other coaches coming out
That's ridiculous.
You ain't, no. And so
should never have happened.
It should have never have happened. Now he's suspended, I guess, for life or however long until they reinstate him.
Okay, he's still KD's personal security, though.
Right, but he's just not. He's gonna have to. Sit,
he ain't gonna be on the floor.
He's gonna sit on the van.
Yes,
or back
unbelievable
in the hallway. But that's
unbelievable,
just, man. It's another thing of just people calm down a sec. Like sports, they don't need to calm. That's fine.
And that was on the court. Now, if this was outside by the buses, I don't have a problem with that. That's what you're supposed to do. This at a club, I don't have a problem with that.
You don't run out on that. That's
what are you doing, bro?
Yes.
That's as bad as a fan. That's as bad as a fan running out on the court.
I can get where your natural reaction.
If a fan would have ran out on the court and got in between them, that fan would have got his ass whooped.
Oh, right. And I get the natural reaction of a security guard, oh, no, I'm going to do this. But you have to be in the mindset.
Know where you're at.
You have to be that smart if you're actually going to be his security
guard. And how was he that close? Did that happen over by the Brooklyn bench? Because I remember seeing it.
It was in the corner, but it was still, he probably had to walk at least 7 or 8 feet out. And that was quick.
It was wild.
And nothing even popped off.
And I felt like he got pushed because he put a shoulder shrug into PJ Tucker, but it looked like, if you go back, it almost looks like a coach pushes the security guard and security guard hits him.
And then you can see the two blue, the guys in the blue shirts. Yeah. Okay, so let's go on to a couple other things. Stephen A. says that Donovan Mitchell is the best Jazz player in history.
Stephen A. is saying this so people like us and everybody else talks about it, because there's no way he can believe that. That is such disrespect to Karl Malone. That is such disrespect to John Stockton.
Okay.
That's disrespect to Jerry effing Sloan. Sorry.
I'm going to prove this point a little bit later, but I completely agree with you. But also, Donovan Mitchell's been on a tear and has proven
unbelievable young player.
He's probably the MVP of the playoffs so far. But he ended up leaving the game.
Ankle injury?
Yeah, it's a reoccurring. So hopefully he's good. There's actually a lot of prop bets of is he going to go for 30 again or more in the next game. I'm curious to see what's going to happen with that. The last thing I wanted to bring up about basketball is, did you see, it was right after last week's show, the $900,000 bet that the Clippers were going to win game 1? It was like 901, I think, or 902.
It's wild what some people put and get or lose on some of the wildest things. And we'll get into those a lot more as the season progresses.
I try to bring up one. I've been talking a lot about positive ones, and there's been actually quite a few. This guy won $132,000 on a 4-game parlay yesterday, the day before. But I had to bring up a negative because don't always just throw money in bed, because it's not worth it.
But we like to keep it positive, but every once in a while I got to bring people back to reality.
I like to check things every once in a while.
No, you? You don't check things.
We don't need to get too deep. Okay. All right. Do we want to start this?
Which part? Oh, yeah, feel free if you want to. Now, I'm going to preference this because you're going to be pulling up numbers and stats, and you're right. They're so far above and beyond. You're absolutely right. So I'll give you that right now.
Okay, so
what I'm getting at is this. If I'm putting 3 out there, he's not in those 3. That's all I'm saying. Continue. Go ahead.
I'm going to give a moment of silence because this is going to be really
I
rough.
literally have to look the other way right
So
now.
we have been talking about wide receivers. Obviously, I think Jerry Rice is the greatest wide receiver of all time, and I'm going to prove that. we're in people's
With stats.
court. This is people's court right now.
Stats.
So,
Keep going. Sorry.
oh my gosh. Dude, you're making me so frustrated. Okay, so who are your top 3 that are over Jerry Rice as wide receivers? Please.
Okay. I've got Randy Moss,
As number 1?
number 1. He's the
So
all-time
you're
best
ranking these.
receiver. Number 2, Larry Fitzgerald.
Okay.
Number 3, Terrell Owens. And number 4, Jerry Rice. I know that pained you so much.
I don't even understand how you can compare
Okay.
this. So
So-
what makes you say that? Let's just even get into Randy Moss. What makes you say that he was better than Jerry Rice?
Because not that Jerry couldn't do everything, but I feel like Randy could do everything better. Jerry also had, so let's look at this. Jerry had one of the greatest head coaches of all time. He had 2 back-to-back Hall of Fame quarterbacks that was quarterbacks for the majority of his career. Then I know after that, he played with some subpar guys and still put up some numbers. Don't get me wrong.
Some numbers.
Some numbers. Larry Fitzgerald's greatest quarterback he had 2 years of what? Kurt Warner. He had a broken down Carson Palmer. He had Josh McCown. Who did Randy Moss have? I know the couple of years he was there with Brady, and he put up all those numbers like a Jerry. Did he not?
Congratulations.
Okay. I'm just saying.
Still not
If
a
I'm
better-
lining up 3 guys on the field, I'm putting Randy on this side, T.O. on this side, and Larry in the slot. And I'm sorry, Jerry just doesn't
So
make
you're
that.
not even putting Chris Carter up there?
Chris Carter would actually, so there, that's the other one. You really want to get me to move Jerry Rice to 5th? I'd put Chris Carter at 4. So I'm
Carter's
giving you
number
respect.
13 overall.
That's fine, with
receiving
stats.
yards. Yes. Okay. So let's talk stats. Numbers count.
They do for sure.
Okay. So Jerry Rice has played in 303 games, has 22,895 receiving yards, and 197 touchdowns.
Wild.
The next closest person is Larry Fitzgerald in receiving yards at
Yeah, I get
17,492, but he only has 121 touchdowns. And Jerry Rice played in a league. Yes, he did have 2 Hall of Fame back-to-back quarterbacks. It was not a passing league, and it's not the way that it is now. And you saw the yak that he had, the yards after catch, he was unbelievable.
He was also going against corners that
Nobody
are-
could touch his work ethic.
You're right. No, 100%. I agree with you. He was the OG of starting
and that's
those
why
guys
T.O.
running that
is
hill. I
because
get it.
T.O. is who he is
I get
because
it.
he learned from Jerry
I
Rice.
understand.
You cannot.
Michael Jordan learned from Dr. J. Doesn't mean Dr. J is the greatest.
No, I'm not saying that, but oh my gosh, there's no way that there's anybody over Jerry Rice.
Okay.
Hands down.
And that's your truth. And I'm okay with that.
I don't like
If you're
the
not
way that-
watching this right now, I mean, Rooks is as red as the double R's on his hat right now.
I go hard on my Niners, but there's
Yeah.
a couple of players.
Yeah,
You're not
yeah.
gonna tell
I'm
me.
giving him respect. I said.
No,
you
you're
can't-
not.
Yes,
you're
I am.
not giving him respect when you put him at 4. No, you're not.
I said you cannot question his work. Okay, yeah. All right. Fine. Then number 5 and put Chris Carter at number 4. See, I wasn't
Surprised
doing
you
that.
didn't just throw out a Browns.
We've never had anybody like
but I'm
that.
surprised it wasn't like a cornerback or somebody. That you
No.
just said still would've been
No,
'cause
I
it
understand.
It goes that
Bernie
way.
Kosar's the greatest, my favorite quarterback of all time. He's never going to be in the Hall of Fame. He's not even the best quarterback that the Browns have ever had. Baker's going to end up being that by next year.
Nah.
And that's not saying much, ladies and gentlemen. Because we're not
Okay,
counting
I
Otto
brought
Graham.
up Cleveland this time, but then he still goes on his rant about Cleveland. But anyways, Jerry Rice is the greatest receiver of all time. And we'll end on that note.
Agree to disagree when in Rome.
Yes. Oh my gosh, dude! You're making me stumble on my words because of how frustrated I'm getting. Okay, so we have some big news.
We
that
do.
We've been kind of
Teasing.
holding. We actually are going to be on local radio.
That's right.
So 1060 a.m.
KDUS 1060 AM Mondays starting. Yeah, Kadoosh. Mondays starting at July 12th.
Yep.
7 p.m. to 8 p.m.
Yep.
And
so be a continuation of the show. We'll do a lot more local stuff. We'll do some different things and mix it up. So it's not going to be the same show, but we're still going to be doing this one as well. But
during the football season, I mean, it's right after the week. So we'll be doing a lot of breakdowns from the Sunday's games, looking at the Thursday game potentially.
Expectations.
The Monday night game. Yep. Going over bets, especially because by then it will be legal in the state of Arizona to sports bet.
Yeah, we can actually talk about it.
And so we can actually be able to pull up specifics and get all that.
Depth and bets on here in our spreads.
Yep.
But at the same point, we're still actually going to be allowed to talk about it because things are growing.
Yep.
Which, speaking of, so we've been seeing this different thing. So you saw the Nate Diaz fight.
Yes, sir.
And then
sure did.
That was crazy. He's a beast.
Awesome. Such respect for the Stockton boys.
Yeah. God, that's 30 minutes from where I grew up.
That explains a lot.
Stop it. Afterwards, you saw this press conference?
Before and after.
Yeah, okay. But so it's interesting because why don't you tell the story and then I'll continue.
So obviously opioids is a problem everywhere.
Yep.
For people of all walks of life, all colors, creeds, work ethics.
Huge one in sports.
But huge in sports.
Yep.
And part of that is because of the physical pain and the mental pain that they push themselves through on a daily basis. Not to mention specifically, these guys fight other human beings for a living.
Right.
So the pain that they inflict,
they're just not dying, but they have to deal with, and not only while they're playing, but for the 20 or 30 years after they retire. Right.
Yep.
Okay. So now, anyway, let's talk about the last part of the interview.
So in the beginning, God created man. In the beginning of the press conference, there's a great photo of Nate Diaz. He's on the far end, and Dana White is addressing the media. Mm-hmm. And in the photo, it's a still photo, and you just see this huge bellow of smoke.
Yep.
And you see Nate Diaz, but you don't see his face. The shot's kind of from behind him. And in the picture, Dana is looking right at the camera with a huge grin on his face because this smoke has just hit him in the face. I say that to say this. At the end of the fight, the press conference, he's got his sunglasses on because if you saw the fight yesterday, Nate Diaz was in a war.
He
was bleeding all over the place like he does in almost every fight.
But he also he
inflicted pain.
Yes, he's a tough kid.
So one of the media members asked him a specific question about what he was smoking and what he preferred.
So he
passed over what he was smoking and told him, well, this is the heavier stuff, but I like everything. And the reason I'm being a little bit, not being this specific is because we're not quite there yet as a society to openly accept, but we're getting there. What that plant and the potential of what it does for people specifically and those things with anti-inflammatories, with helping all that stuff and not having to be on opioids for pain relief and all that, we're getting a larger look. And in the next 10 years, it's going to be a whirlwind from where we are today. But it's nice to see that it's progressively making its way into the mainstream of helping sports performance as opposed to just labeling it for people that are losers.
Yeah. I'm going to say it this way. We've seen the NBA open up their rules and regulations about marijuana. They've opened up their rules and regulations in the NFL about marijuana. The UFC and actually coming out and smoking on live TV. I am not saying I'm for or against it.
There's a time and place.
It has become legal now, not only medically, but recreationally in Arizona.
Yep.
But I, hands down, do believe it's better than opioids.
100%.
That's 100% that I will say that.
And I'm not a doctor, obviously.
You see the side effects of long-term use. And there's so many different ways and things that now that it's becoming legal, they're getting very creative. It seems pretty interesting to be.
And you don't have to ingest it that way.
I have no idea.
You also don't have to ingest it that way to get the effects.
Yeah,
there's now medical ways of taking it. There's tinctures. There's eating it. There's all kinds of stuff.
There's drops. It's so
everything.
Crazy. I hear different things. I'm just like, what?
Incredible.
But long story short, I think this is going to grow, and I think it's going to become a thing, and I think it is 100% better because we have way too many people dying or being affected by opioids.
100%.
and then get depression and
then everything that follows with that. So,
and then
agreed.
Other drug use that if they get shut off from and they're not getting or they don't have the money to. Yeah, it's crazy. So I honestly
shout out to them for being on the forefront of something that people are going to go, why weren't we doing this 30 years ago?
Yeah, I think in 5 years we'll see.
But that's also, reflection. That's, looking back. It's what we could have done, and you learn from your mistakes.
Yeah, as long as it's used where you're trying to get, like you're hurting.
Yeah.
Not just mentally, but like you're actually like,
especially
it's
in that
small, it's a different dosage and different things you're using. So, but I think this week is going to be interesting. We're going to see a lot. Are we going to see Phoenix close things out tonight? By the time we talk, we actually should have.
Yeah, we'll know. We'll know who's in the finals, I think. Yeah, unless something goes 7. Unless something goes 7, we should know who's playing.
Yeah, I think it'll be. I don't think these are going to be long series. And then I think we'll end up with Brooklyn and Phoenix. And then, unfortunately,
I'm taking Phoenix. I'm taking Phoenix.
I know you are.
I'll take Phoenix. So it'll be in 7 or 6. I got it being in 6 if one of the big 3 is lingering hurt, whether it's James Harden.
I say Brooklyn in 5.
I mean, I wouldn't be.
I think Phoenix.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I think Phoenix wins their second.
I wouldn't be
home
surprised.
Game, and then Brooklyn wins the first game at home for them.
CP3 versus Flat Earth Kyrie Irving. I can't wait.
Dude, he's gonna shake him out of his.
Hey, Chris has been putting people on skates. Have you seen CP3 putting homies on skates?
See him hop on the floor,
and it wasn't just Michael Jr. Porter. It was everybody. He's putting everybody on skates.
Okay, we'll see. Normally, I'm right about these things, but it's fine.
Boy,
just like what last week when I was just like, "Hey, so if you watch basketball, yeah. So what about this game? Oh, well, I didn't watch that one.
That was the only one I didn't watch. So you brought up the one. Okay. Fair enough.
I know how to still poke the bear.
All right, bro.
All right, homie. So let's have a good week. All right.
Later.
One love.